Hello everyone, I am Tassit, and today I'm going to be going over the new Gems of War Mythic troop of the Chromaticea. It'll be in the Glory Gem Guild and VIP chest for this week only, and they'll be in the drop table with everything else. As far as this troop is concerned, it is quite a wildcard heavy troop. As far as its main mechanic, it has two main gimmicks. The biggest one probably being its final trait. While we have had quite a few wildcard troops in the past that have had a 25% chance to create a 2x wildcard whenever matching for an extra turn, this thing ends up doing it at pretty much double the rate, at a 50% of doing it a ×3. Not quite a ×4, but still pretty useful. Of course, this does stack, so if you have multiple on your team, it will end up creating potentially multiple, you know, if you trigger both the 50% or all three of the 50%. We are going to be getting multiple of it during this video, so we'll get to see exactly what 2 and 3 of them can ultimately end up doing, to see if it's going to be worthwhile or not. As far as its ability itself, it seems like it's going to be a little random, but still potentially good as long as you have something on your team that can use all colors, like a Wand of Stars, a Stellarix, a Diamantina, or something similar. Ends up dealing a bunch of damage to all enemies, then creates either 13 gems of blue, green, red, yellow, or purple. When it says this, I assume it means 13 all of the same. So it'll either do 13 blue, or 13 green, or 13 red. It's not going to do a mix of them. If it does, it's really bad. But assuming it only does 13 of one of these specific colors, it's not as bad. It'd be a lot better if it only did the colors that it was, of course, if it did blue, red, and yellow. The fact that it also does, what, purple and green? It also doesn't do brown, oddly enough, so you can't use it with like a Barrier on Brown hero class. Though if you are using it with Dragon's Claw, Dragon's Claw hero class does not have Barrier on Brown anyway, so it kind of works out. The Kingdom in general is still missing kind of a good burning option, so it's a little bit unfortunate this thing didn't also come with like a free burn to all enemies, or maybe an effect based on what color it did. Like, you know, if it did blue, maybe freeze, if it did red, burn, you know, so on and so forth kind of thing. But, yeah, it doesn't have any additional effect like that. And it's a little bit random if it's going to be extra turning. Obviously, 13 gems is a pretty decent amount of gems, but 13 gems on a board that has like 2 yellow when you're creating yellow, or, you know, like 3 red when you're creating red, not going to be so good. So a little bit inconsistent in that, as you don't really get to choose which one it is. It's not like you get to choose on the board, and because that would make it a lot stronger. Like if it created 13 gems, but you got to choose what color on the board to end up creating 13 of. But I don't know, we'll have to mess around with it and see. It has potential to be just slightly too random to be worthwhile, especially since his final trait isn't guaranteed. Like this trait, even if it was just a 2x, but 100% chance instead of a 25, because that would be a lot more consistent as far as we can end up doing with it. But between its ability potentially missing, as well as its trait not being guaranteed, not ideal. And of course the other two traits are just pretty standard average traits. Nothing too over the top, a little bit of tankiness. I think I even use it in first slot on one of the teams, but let's go end up getting 3 of this thing. And then we'll go and, yeah, try it with 2, try it with 3, and try some standard teams that only end up utilizing 1. So, of course, one other thing that this thing is pretty good for, it is from Dragon's Claw. So you do get to have that Dragon's Claw synergy whenever you want to do that. Unlike Dragon Restriction that has things like Stellarix, Dragon's Claw is a little bit more restrictive as far as what you can ultimately end up using. Oh gosh, it's going to be one of those days we go through a lot of keys, isn't it? Of course, on the day we want to go get 3. Come on, let's show me the triple. Or at least show me 1, gosh. He's in there somewhere. I'll just go through like the whole stack. I saw that it was updated. Hello? Mythic! Gosh, it's about 1,000 per one as well. Oh no, it's gonna be one of those kind of days. Oh no! Oh gosh, we're gonna go through like 5,000 keys today, aren't we? This is bad. Oh no, I'm almost about to restart the game just like... Did it update? No, it definitely did. Oh gosh, it's one of those kind of days. Oh no, maybe we should go open seal keys or something. Gem keys just do not want to do it for us right now. Oh no! Wow, this is unlucky. Finally, gosh. But we're not done yet. There's only 1. I am going for 3. We're going for the trifecta. I'm not sure if it's really going to be viable 3. I'm pretty sure 2 is like the highest you can get away with, kind of like double tuck shaka. But we're not stopping this button until we have 3. We got the resources for it, might as well. It's one of the few mythics that's actually kind of worthwhile to get potentially more than 1 of. Like, if you're going to use it, you might as well go all out. You can definitely do a ton with only 1, though. But I do want to test 2 and 3 just to kind of see. Assuming we can get them all before we run completely out of keys. Also, if we get 4, this could be so funny. If we get a double drop here. I only need 1 more. There we go. Okay. That was not ideal, but by the end, honestly, our luck kind of caught up and evened out a little bit. I'm not sure what the total is at that point because I wasn't keeping track too much. But, yeah, I think we were still a bit on the dry side, but by the end, it wasn't too bad. I think that was like, what, 4,000 keys for 3? Whereas that first one, gosh, it was like 2,000 something. That was not good on the first one, but the other 2 came in a little bit better, so that's fine. So we got our 3, and, yeah, let's start testing this thing out. Let's go see what it could do. Let me go and max it out, obviously. You know what? We'll even give it its elite levels, because we might as well. Let's see. Let's go get it fully traded, fully elited, fully everythinged. Give it some of this, give it some of that, give it one of these, one of those. Get it all the way true max. It is a major, so it does gain 6 damage to all enemies for being fully maxed if you go use all the glory orbs and everything, which is not that bad at all. Obviously, anything that has that major that's hitting for like full AoE, which most of them do, gains a decent amount of benefit from it, and I feel like we'll be using it enough, at least in some restrictions, where we'll be able to get used a lot. Dragon Restriction is obviously very, very, very dense as far as options, but Dragon's Claw is definitely a bit more limited, and especially if you don't own a Diamantina yet, this is a great Diamantina alternative if you're looking to run like a 4x Dragon's Claw kind of team, and you don't want to go down like necessarily an Elamagrim-like route. And keep in mind, this almost is like an Elamagrim-like troop. Except its condition for doing its 13 gem spawn is not based on a stats effect like many of the other Elamagrim-like troops, but is simply based on pure randomness. So it's always getting max spawn, it's inconsistent which color ends up doing. So in that regard, it's kind of like the Elamagrim-like troops, just with a wild card mechanic instead of some kind of like attack or magic reduction kind of thing at the end. But anyways, let's go get this guy into all the teams, and you know what we got to go try first. You know it. Replace out the Takshakas that would normally be on that team for the Chromaticeas. The biggest downside of this compared to Takshaka, I would definitely say Takshaka is substantially better than it. The biggest downside with it is it doesn't get as good of a start. While you're going through the duration of a battle, especially if you're not frozen or anything, it'll probably be a little bit stronger. But during the actual like start of a battle, it has a way weaker start compared to running something like, actually we're just on the team, where to go? Compared to running something like Pharaoh, Catfru, or running Takshaka, they just have such a solid start, even a Leprechaun for that matter. All three of them just have such a solid start that not running them is sometimes quite a hindrance. And that's the biggest issue with something like this, is while it'll probably be a little bit stronger as we get going, the start of the battle is going to be a bit weaker if you're running like 2 or 3 of it compared to, you know, not running Takshaka or something similar that has a good starting option. You could always offset this one single Leprechaun if you want to go down that route, but this time around we're going to be trying the 2 and 3, just kind of see how that goes. Obviously, once we get rolling, it should in theory be better rather than worse, as we will constantly be getting those wild cards, or at least I would hope so. Did we even get any there? It's hard to tell. If they did, they probably already matched, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. So let's actually try this thing's ability. Of course, it'll get 13 of the same gem, and right there created 13 red and completely failed us, which is not ideal. But yeah, that can definitely happen. Let's go get the rest of our mana. It looks like we're just going to get a Stellarex win here. No, we got to go for the other thing. Come on. Get the Chromatic back up. Though it's going to be a little bit hard since Wand is somewhat blocking it as all the excess mana goes into it. But let's go try it again. And let's see. Did we end up getting Wildcard there? It's honestly so hard to tell every single time. Okay, let's go get the third one in. Get rid of Stellarex. Get the other Chromatic in. And now we have the triple Chromatic with Wand. Obviously, we always want, if you're going to be using this, you're almost always going to want something that covers every color. It's definitely not required to have something that covers every color, but it is possible. Dragon's Claw has Diamantina, Dragon Restriction has Stellarex, and obviously Unrestricted has Wand, Stellarex, everything else. So you have quite a few options out there, and in this case we're just using Wand, so we have a stable mana accumulator. And come on, can we get those wild cards? I always feel like it's almost never creating wild card. Let me go and slow it down. 50% chance to create a 3x wild card when matching for 4 more gems. I'm pretty sure it is, and we're just getting it matched like every single time, because I keep not seeing the spawns for some reason. It could be that some of these times, obviously, we're missing the extra turn. Like, right there, we end up missing it. Let's see. Can you stop missing the extra turns? It is not being that consistent, that extra turning. Its inconsistency is a lot higher than I was expecting it to be. I knew it was going to be a little bit inconsistent, but, it is doing the wild cards. It's just sometimes they get matched so quick, it's hard to tell. But yeah, 50% chance each one, of course, doing that wild card thing. One thing to be careful, though, is other things can end up overriding those wild cards. Whenever you end up doing that. Also keep in mind, this guy's damage is relatively average. It's nothing like too over the top. It's pretty much at the mid-range of where, you know, the standard AoE hit all enemy kind of troop is. And of course, Dragon is already exceedingly dense with this kind of mechanic. It's kind of funny because this year is the year of the snake as well, and this thing looks like a pretty snake-like dragon, that's for sure. But overall, final verdict on this is, yeah, it's not replacing Takshaka even close. Not even remotely close. It's not replacing Takshaka, Pharaoh, or anything like that. I thought it would be a little bit closer to Takshaka, but no. The amount of consistency of Takshaka, in the sense that it's guaranteed per turn, plus just the overall damage. I'm just not what I want. Let me go put Stellarex back in this team. I'm gonna copy paste. But yeah, actually, let me go just show it real quick. I'm pretty sure most of you are aware of the team. But let me go do it real quick. Actually, I don't think I have the right one set up here. I don't want to set up the safer one. Though I guess we could still go to triple right now. Normally we run it with like Wand, Stellarix, double Takshaka, but you know, we'll run the triple Takshaka, why not? We ran triple of the other one, but just as a comparison, this is basically what the other variant of it looks like, compared to doing what we just did. So of course we instantly got full mana without doing anything, into instantly getting this to full mana, and guess what? This guy's probably going to extra turn, right? Okay, he didn't extra turn, but normally he would want to. Still has that slight inconsistency, but look, we get the wild cards every single time, just gets the mana so much more consistently. Yeah, I just don't think it's worth it. If you can get enough extra turns going, maybe. But if you're using 2 or 3 of them, like your entire team is based on like this for mana accumulation. And this is missing way too much because you don't have control over it. Sometimes it'll create it on the wrong one when there's not as many on the board. It's just really, really inconsistent. Whereas Takshaka's at least creating the same thing every single turn, or, you know, whenever it casts, as well as having the consistency per turn. Like, hey, you can't scale like crazy every single turn, but, you know, you still get a lot of value from it. But yeah, Chromaticea just doesn't really do enough to really justify using it instead of it. In the context of like a Dragon's Claw team, I feel like it'll be fine. There's a couple different ways you can build Dragon Claw teams. But in that kind of context, I feel like it'll be a lot better. But when you're allowed to use anything, not so much. Anyways, next one, we're going to be going for Centurion. As I mentioned, there are quite a few troops that have already had a similar mechanic to what this troop does. They have a 25% chance to create a 2x wild card when matching for an extra turn. Almost every single wild card troop ended up getting this. And Centurion is probably one of the biggest beneficiaries of this. He's always kind of been the best way to really do wild cards for the most part, particularly with things like Zolgoth, but there's more modern ways of doing that as well with things like Immortal Ossifer, which also has a lot more control as far as where you can put it. But there's a 10% chance to devour a random enemy, plus 10% for each wild card, then convert all skulls to 2x wild cards. The biggest issue with this boost ratio, of course, is getting a lot of wild cards on the board. Not even because wild card generation is necessarily hard, but the more wild cards you have on the board, the more likely they're all going to match together, and then you have no wild cards on the board, or a very small amount of wild cards on the board. So being able to have, or you know, just being able to utilize them early and try to get it out after like 2 or 3, generally around where you're casting them, and then just getting your alignment, converting all the skulls into wild cards, and then kind of going crazy from there while using a skull spammer like Zolgoth or Mortal Ossifer or Keeper of Souls or something similar. But anyways, let's go try this. So this ends up using the wildcard boost ratio as well as one of the other troops that basically already had this troop's mechanic. It's a weaker version of that, 25% at 2x rather than a 50% at 3x. Yeah, let's go see what we can do. Already got our first wild card. Obviously go for Wand here, just kind of get things rolling a little bit, get our plus, get everything else we need. Get a few more wild cards on the board. But yeah, that's the problem. Notice how the wild cards already got taken, either directly or indirectly. That tends to happen a lot with wild cards, and one of the biggest issues with wildcard boost ratio in general is just really, really hard to land. Also, we don't have any alignment here, so I'm going to go for a Wand of Stars just to set up the board, and hopefully we have a good convert. He kind of just ruined my convert, though. Is this worth just doing on purple? I think I might just do it just to get it off. That, or we could try our RNG. Let's see. Let's go try our RNG. Nice. We got it. We got it. Alright, can we do some brown? Nice. We can do this on the color. Okay, let me go get this down. Go get some really nice value there, and now we can really get going. We can go for the Centurion. Go and end up getting that. See if we can go for the double. Oddly enough, he filled the mana of everything except himself. Go figure. We can take that red. Not sure if I want it yet. We need more skulls on the board. Let's see. The skulls are aligned, so we'll go for the Ossifer thingy. Get our true damage. So we do have a double AoE here, by the way, because Ossifer is doing a little bit of true damage poke into the little bit that we get from the Chromaticea. And of course, we keep getting the wild card benefit from the Chromaticea. We'll go for the Devour here and kind of see if we can get it. Nice. We got the Devour. And then, yeah, we're pretty much good to go. Go for the other thing. End up getting a little bit more mana. Which I probably should have taken that one for the wild card just to see if we could have landed it. It's just really hard to keep a wild card boost ratio on the board. It just keeps wanting to go away every single time. But at least we got one Devour off of him. So it does kind of work out. That's also why we put him in first slot, so we could utilize the extra attack and durability from it. And of course, this is kind of just being used almost purely to generate wild cards, more so than anything, is to kind of assist with the other thing instead of like a standard mana accumulator, like a Leprechaun or something that you would normally put on this team. As Leprechaun's probably the most common pick if you're doing a team like this, is putting a Leprechaun there instead of one Takshaka or anything else. Just one Leprechaun, you click it immediately and get the team rolling. But yeah, this kind of keeps it going a little bit better as the battle is going, since you can end up getting that little bit extra mana accumulation, that little bit extra Devour rate, and kind of go from there. And then we just use Immortal Ossifer to go and kill it out, and we're good to go. Of course, using Immortal Ossifer a bit more as our primary damage source rather than the new Mythic, using the Mythic more so as a support troop in this situation. And now, for the final one, where we kind of do it the other way around, where we're using it more so as our damage source, but still having Diamantina to offset it. If you don't have Diamantina, there are plenty of damage dragons you can end up replacing it with from this kingdom. I just figured I'd do it with Diamantina as it does cover every single color, and it is the only thing in the entirety of Dragon's Claw weapon, or anything-wise, that actually covers every color. So if you do have it, it's definitely worth using in that regard, as this troop is pretty important to end up covering every color with. And out of every single option within the entirety of Kingdom, if we go over here, it's the only thing that covers all 6, even if we go into weapons. If we go to Kingdom, Dragon's Claw weapons, it unfortunately does not have... Actually, that's not true. I think it actually does have a 6-color weapon, but it's really bad. Doesn't it have... Yeah, Imperial Jewel. Doesn't count. It technically has another option. It doesn't really count, though. Imperial Jewel is an exceedingly dated weapon that even back in the day was barely usable. And 10 years later is... Or 9 years, however long it's been. It is still pretty much in that category, even more so than ever. But anyways, but yeah, we're doing it with Diamantina, but there are other options. Most notably, oddly enough, you know what's actually in this kingdom? Though, unfortunately, it's too weak to really properly do with it. It's the Wildcard Mythic that ended up coming during the Wildcard season. It was the Taha Mata. Deals a bunch of damage to all enemies at an even lower rate than the Chromaticea. And then ends up creating 3-4 times wild cards while still having, you know, that wild card mechanic. Unfortunately, not a better one, though. Actually, oddly enough, it has pretty much the same trait setup now that I'm looking at it, too, with the rough scales and everything. But, yeah, unfortunately, it's just not good enough. It just doesn't have a good enough extra turn potential. A lot of times you're just feeding the enemy wild cards. Even if you do get mana, it's probably not enough for full mana. There's a lot of issues going for it that basically makes it not really used. And since neither of them directly have a boost ratio from wild cards, unlike Centurion, it doesn't really work out too well overall. Anyways, let's go and test this. So, of course, quite a few ways to run a Dragon's Claw team. Keep in mind, this is not a 4x Dragon team. Well, it is a 4x Dragon team, but this isn't a 4x Dragon team you would use in a 4x Dragon restriction. This is more so specifically a 4x Dragon's Claw restriction, as it's a lot more limited compared to a standard 4x Dragon team. Quite a few different ways we could set this up. I was considering putting Divinia in first slot, but I was going to just gamble my luck on trying to get our alignment. Of course, we could also go with Sensia and stuff like that for the 50% mana start to all dragons, but we're testing our luck with the big convert and hoping that that gets us rolling, which at the moment seems like it is. But now it's time to play, will it roll correctly? So in this case, I haven't actually showed this, but of course, we could actually see the distribution of every single one of our colors. So if all of these are basically like 9 or higher, you're in a pretty good position. Like right now, we definitely don't want to see red. However, green is going to put us in a pretty good position. So let's see what we end up getting here. Ends up doing purple. Got a mid-range one. We still have the one wild card there, so we still end up utilizing that. Of course, we are using Diamantina as our main damage source here, so we do have access to end up utilizing it. Though keep in mind, whenever you're doing a team like this, you might be leaving mana on the board. And whenever you are doing this, of course, they can end up just simply taking your wild card. And if you're doing something that ends your turn like Diamantina normally does, not guaranteed, but of course we can end up getting the extra turn there. But it's not guaranteed that it ends up doing that. So in those situations, you might end up getting the enemy a bunch of value that you ideally don't want to be giving them. And of course, it doesn't have any per turn value, like something like a Takshaka, where, you know, even if you're falling behind and everything, as long as you're not stunned, you're still getting that effect off. Also, keep in mind, you do need like an anti-effect kind of thing on your team. Because one of the whole reasons we're actually using Divinia here is almost purely for the cleanse. You could also put this on the hero, though. I forget what the Dragon's Claw cleanse option is, even if it has one, now that I'm thinking about it. But Divinia just ends up working out a little bit better. It's obviously more so in a PvP-like situation, where you end up utilizing it a little bit more. And speaking of which, we can actually bring this guy over to a PvP situation. It is a 4x Dragon restriction this week. So, of course, this is way weaker for a 4x Dragon compared to a 4x Dragon's Claw. But, you know what, let's go give it a shot, because I believe PC Mobile does have a Dragon restriction right now. So, yeah, let's go head over there and just kind of see what this team could do. Let me go get the copy-paste on it. Of course, all of them are in the description below, as well as the pinned comment if you want to go and copy-paste any of them. But, yeah, let's go do it. Keep in mind, this is a 4x Dragon Claw team, not a 4x Dragon team. However, it is still 4x Dragon. So, we can technically still bring it out against other Dragon teams. We'll even go for the harder one. So, this is what I normally use. Wand of Stars, Stellaryx, Essentia, and Venerbralix. This is a 4x Dragon restriction related team. However, let's go try the 4x Dragon's Claw team against it and see how we can end up ultimately doing. He's using Elementalist, so that's why we need the Divinia for the cleanse. Beyond that, yeah, see how it goes. It will definitely be weaker than this team, but of course this is meant to be a 4x Dragon's Claw team. Dragon's Claw doesn't come up too much as a restriction, as much compared to 4x Dragon. However, 4x Dragon has like infinite options, whereas obviously you're a lot more limited in 4x Dragon's Claw. So when a restriction does pop up, you know, it's nice to have a team for it, just because there's a lot less options that you can have. And if you're lacking Diamantina, it's even better that you can have something like this now, as it really offsets the lack of Diamantina if you lack the Diamantina. So we're going to really want to go into our mana and just try to get our cleanse going. We're going to need this to get rid of our freeze. Also gives us a bunch of life to all allies and cleanses them all most notably. And yeah, we're just going to keep spamming out damage. He's going to get a lot of mana into his. He also has that little bit of Submerge, which is going to be a little bit annoying. But we'll be able to deal with it. Let's see, what does he even do here? He's going to go take all that. That's fine. We're just going to go for a little bit of damage poke. Fortunately, it doesn't hit on the 1, but that's fine. Go get this going and hope it doesn't miss. It did indeed miss. No! Yeah, it's going to be kind of annoying, especially with how much it blocks us on mana here. It's going to be slightly problematic here, as we really need that to kind of get things going. We'll do is take our Skull, get rid of their main damage source right there. Probably try to get Divinia again, but this thing is mana blocking just a little bit. In this situation, it dying would almost be beneficial. I think we're just going for this Diamantina, though. Unfortunately, the other one is currently... Oh, he went for the mass resummon, too. Wait, what weapon was the thing? Oh, yeah, because it did a dragon resummon thing. Let's see. Alright, that's going to be a little bit annoying, as we don't actually have resummon ourselves. Honestly, letting our first slot die out is probably one of our biggest strategies right now. I think having Submerge would have been dead so many ages ago if that thing didn't have Submerge. Brown to yellow... Alright, we'll take that over. We do... Actually, no, we don't have a way to get rid of Submerge on this team. Like you normally would be able to. But it shouldn't be too big a deal. We do have the cleanse, so we can at least get rid of the more annoying effect, like the freeze from earlier, so we were actually able to extra turn. And now with us being fully cleansed, let's see, he's going to go for Skull. We should probably prioritize getting set up for Diamantina then. Unless we could Skull it out so much that we don't even need to deal with it. We might actually be able to here. Is there any way I could take blue and still deny the Skull? It doesn't look like it. I kind of want to take this so badly, but we definitely going to have to take the Skull just so it doesn't end up dying out. And I think we are in the clear. Let's see. He just creates the gems. Okay, let's go try. One last time. Actually, let me go for the cleanse and then go for it. Hopefully it doesn't backfire. Alright, let me go for that. And then we go for... Oh, it didn't actually have a single red on the board because you just converted them. That's funny. I was like, wait, where's my explosion? But you just converted all red and it explodes all red. That's funny. Nice, we created yellow with a perfect yellow board. Let's see, can it do something lucky again? Like, here's where it would be so bad if it does red. There are 2 reds on the board. If it does red right now, that is very problematic. Actually, let me do this first. Alright, now it's less problematic if it does red. Okay, now it's a little bit more even, so it's actually kind of even across everything. I still want to go for it. I know, of course, we could do the other thing. I just want to see if it ends up getting it. Okay, it ends up getting purple into a miss, but we end up killing it off of what? Reflect? The random Reflect from Divinia, because it gives a random status effect to an ally. But, yeah, that's a 4x Dragon Claw team against 4x Dragon. Not too bad. It held its own. It was definitely able to hold its own. But, yeah, when you're in a more restrictive area and not allowed to use, you know, Stellarix and everything like that, or Wand, it's not bad. It's just really situational. I just can't really see too much of a time where you're really bothering to bring this thing out. It's a fun gimmick troop for sure. And having, I definitely don't think it's worth going for 2 or 3, by the way. It's worth probably getting 1 just to have it for when you do need a 4x Dragon Claw team and just kind of scrap something together. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. You can actually run Mortal Glacia on your, that's kind of funny. Oh, no, you can't. Never mind. I was going to say, this is from Glacial Peaks. That's just because we're in the PvP tab. Well, you can, I guess, if it's in the PvP thing, you have, like, one other troop to offset it. That's one nice thing about PvP. But, yeah, as far as Dragon's Claw, yeah, it's... You don't have too many options when it comes to consistent damage sources. As far as under that category, we have 2 other Elamagrim-like troops. Elamagrim, which can create up to 13 if the enemy team is burning. Shtara, which can create up to 13 gems if it is bless your entire team. In one case purple, in the other case yellow. And this thing automatically creates your 13, but it's really random what color it does. It reminds me a lot of, you know what troop this reminds me so much of? The Quaidle. Not only in appearance, but it creates 12 gems of a random color for 12 mana cost. It reminds me a lot of that, but similar to the Quaidle, it just isn't viable enough. Its mana cost is slightly too high. Like 26 is way too high. Honestly, it should be closer to 20. Especially when you're comparing something that does 1 less gem spawn is only 12. I know it has no follow-up, but still. Like, if you're going to scale it similarly, it needs like a slightly higher gem spawn or more consistency with it. And like you get to choose the color. Because in that situation before, like, you know, when there was only 2 red, obviously we didn't want it to create red. Luckily it didn't. However, you know, when you're in a situation like that, if that does end up happening, you're just kind of out of luck since you don't really have any control over it. And I feel like that's the biggest issue with it. There's a complete lack of control. Its consistency over time doesn't... Like everything with it is really random. Where the wild cards go, if it's even going to spawn a wild card, what gem it's going to do, is it even going to land extra turn? And the amount of randomness it has probably just isn't worth using over other options unless you're in a restriction where you just kind of have to, where you have to scrap together like a Dragon's Claw team, or if you're really lucky dragons, I guess you may use it on a 4x dragon team, though there are generally better routes that you can end up doing when you have every dragon in the entire game, rather than just Dragon Claw dragons, as Dragon Claw dragons, while there's still quite a few good ones, are a lot more limiting compared to, you know, the many dragons that exist. Not to mention some of the better damage sources like Stellarix that, of course, do not exist here. But overall, I would say he's definitely worth getting 1, 100% not worth getting 2 or 3. It's a fun little gimmick, but just doesn't have enough power to really justify going that deep, especially for how dry we just went. But even if you're getting lucky on it, I think it'll be fine just getting 1 and going from there. But anyways, guys, that's a rundown on a new Mythic. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Definitely feel free to leave a like on the video. Helps a lot and is greatly appreciated. And as mentioned earlier, all of the teams are in the description and pinned comment if you want to go and copy paste any of them. If you have any teams of your own, feel free to leave them in the comment section as well. I would love to see them. Anyways, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful 2025, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye, everyone, and thanks for watching.